As Tracy alluded to, I am the new unit head of the illegal dumping team. I also have the two team members here, Renee Fairhurst and Sarah Seary. Now, even though I'm new to the illegal dumping team, I have been in the EPA 20 years and I've seen my fair share of illegal dump, and I've also investigated quite a significant amount of it. And who likes it? It introduces invasive weed seeds into the sensitive environments, it covers vegetation, it adds contaminants to soil and water. If you happen to be a person or an animal that comes across it, it can be hazardous. It destroys significant Aboriginal cultural heritage. But one thing that really annoys me about illegal dumping is that it's that small proportion of society who thinks it's okay to destroy people's community and the environment in which they live. And for me, that's just not acceptable. Now, some of you might be able to reminisce over this. 20 years ago, if I had an illegal dumping case come through, you'd have your big, thick, chunky pager and you'd stick it on your belt. You get your big, chunky mobile phone. You could never lose those mobile phones. You only use the mobile phone for emergency purposes. You'd stick it in your backpack and you'd hope that it would retain its charge. You get your roll-on film and you stick that in your pockets with your wind-on camera, and you go out and investigate an illegal dump. You come back to the office, you do an internal inspection report up, you put your photos down to the local chemist to get processed, you'd stick your photos onto pieces of paper and you'd write little descriptions. You'd ring your local council or land manager and you'd have a chat to them as to whether they had similar instances occur and whether there was any consistency with the illegal dump. And then you clean it up or have it all cleaned up. And that was pretty much the extent of what you would do 20 years ago with illegal dumping. It was recognised that we needed to come up with a more sophisticated way of recording and managing our illegal dumping. And so the illegal dumping strategy was developed, and in 2014 that was released. One of the priority actions for that illegal dumping strategy was to develop a statewide database. And after a lot of hard work, and only a year later, the RID Online database was launched in September last year to public land managers. February this year, it was launched to the general public. So everyone, anywhere, can report illegal dumping. Now, if you had told me 20 years ago that I could get a dinky little phone and go out to an illegal dump, take photos of that illegal dump, upload GPS coordinates, put in the type of waste, the quantity of waste and intel associated with that waste, I just don't think I would have believed you that that would happen. Yet here we are. So I think we're on a cusp of some really interesting ways of being able to combat illegal dumping, because we'll be able to do pattern analysis of the type and the location and of illegal dumping. And I think it will produce a much more collaborative, strategic way of combating illegal dumping. So I think it's really exciting times. It's new and it's a database, so it's got some teething issues, but overall, we really have something exciting, a really good tool for us to use. So on that note, I'm going to pass you over to Renee and she's going to tell you about RID Online. Thank you.
Hi everyone. All right, so I'm going to talk everyone through what RID Online is and how it works. So essentially, RID Online is two interfaces. So the first one is the public interface, which you can use from your smartphone. And this was, as Dan mentioned, that was launched February this year. So with reporting via the public app, it's pretty easy. There's 4 simple steps. So the first step, once you go into the app, it's actually not an app, it's a web portal, but it looks exactly like an app. Once you go into that, it'll use your phone's GPS to pick up your location, and then you just click next, and then it'll take you to the next screen. If you just then take a photo of the dumping incident, or else if you've got a photo saved in your phone, then you can upload it to onto RID Online. You can take as many photos as you like. And then once you've done that, once again, just click next, and then it'll take you on to asking you for some information about the waste type. So we've got a drop-down list. You just pick what waste type it is. We've tried to make it as easy as possible so that the general public, doesn't need to know all the terminology that we use. They should be able to pick the right waste type. Then it also allows you to pick the size of the waste, which once it then gets to our database, we actually have some conversion factors that can then allow us to calculate a tonnage so that we can start to get an idea of actual weights and how much illegal dumping is actually out there. So once you've done that, once again, click next, and then you're up to the final page. So you just need to fill in your details. These are compulsory. And then you just click Send Report. Now we've set up RID Online so that, say if you're outside of a Wi-Fi area, you'll be able to, once you get to this stage, it'll just save it to your phone, and then when you do go back into a Wi-Fi area, then you can just send that report. So we've set it up so that in any circumstance you should now be able to send off a report. So once you do this, the report actually goes to the council that dumping incident is in, and they'll receive an email notification just saying that there's been an incident. They can then log in to RID Online, and then that's where we go onto the private database. So the private database, that was launched September last year. So that's available for public land managers, councils, to use. So to use the private database, it is a login system. So for anyone that hasn't used RID Online or seen it, you just need to contact our team and we can set you up with your login. But once you log into RID Online, then you'll be able to view all the incidents that have been recorded in there. So this is just a quick overview of what the page looks like once you get in there. But then, you've got quite a few features once you do get into it. So it has a mapping function, so you can actually then start looking for hotspots and seeing where all the dumping incidents are. You can also filter that, so if you just want to look for, say, asbestos dumps, you can filter that to start looking at where all your asbestos dumps are. Also, we've set up 3 levels of access for RID Online, and we did this because we needed to ensure that we complied with the Privacy Act. So there's admin, which is just a couple of people at the EPA that have that access, and then there's either enforcement officer or other officer. So enforcement officer, you can have that access if you're using the database for law enforcement purposes, and that's once again complying with the Privacy Act. Otherwise, if you're just wanting to use RID Online to sort of get data, dumping incidents and all that sort of stats, and you don't want to access personal information, then you will be set up as an other officer. So then what actually RID Online will capture, so it'll capture location details, the waste types and the amount. Also you can start to fill in investigation status, so whether you could do anything with that incident, whether a PIN was issued and regulatory action was taken, all that information can be then captured in RID Online. You can also capture cleanup details, so who did the cleanup, if a cleanup notice was issued, all that information can be put in there, but you can also capture the cost of cleanup, so you can record how much that cleanup costs. So whether council bared the cost of that cleanup, that information can be stored in there, or if the offender cleaned up, you can also capture that information in there. So it's all really good information that down the line you can use to really have a good understanding of what's actually happened in illegal dumping space in your area. And then lastly is regulatory action. So PINs, you can capture if you issued a PIN, if you went to court, all that sort of information can be captured, plus the offender details. So then people can look back and see if anybody else has issued a notice to that particular person. So in terms of where we've got to with RID Online and what it's achieved, it's been a really good start for us with RID Online. We've already got 125 organisations that are registered to use RID Online. Of these organisations, we've got about 63% of New South Wales councils that are registered and using RID Online. We've also got other agencies that are using RID Online, so National Parks, Forestry, DPI, our RID squads and RID programs, and the EPA as well. So yeah, it's really great to see so many land managers that are using it. We've also captured now over 8,500 illegal dumping incidents since September, which is quite impressive. And I think actually, because I wrote this 2 weeks ago, when I looked yesterday, it's already up to 9,000. So that's how quickly we are capturing incidents. And also, since releasing the public app in February, we've had about 140 public reports. So in terms of what's actually happening and what it looks like, this map here is the first month of RID Online, so that first month in September. And this is where we're up to now. So as you can see, we are really starting to get a really good picture statewide of what's happening with illegal dumping. And yeah, it's really impressive just to see the coverage that we are getting. So there's a few other perks of what we're hoping to see out of RID Online. So there's the ability to identify repeat offenders. If anyone's not aware of who this person is, this is Div Hannah. So hopefully, this is what RID Online is going to work towards helping us achieve. So once, you know, more users are putting in details of offenders that they have captured, well, not captured, sorry, prosecuted and that, hopefully then other land managers will be able to go in and see that. So hopefully what will happen is that rather than, you know, each time a council or the EPA starts looking into something and they go, oh, we've never seen this person before, but potentially they could have been, yeah, pinned by 3 other different councils and that, we now have that intelligence there to say, no, actually this should be going to prosecution rather than just issuing another pin. So this is where we're hoping this will go. And the other thing is that it's really going to help us identify illegal dumping trends. So like with this map here, what you're seeing is national parks land and then you're seeing council land. So you're able to now see cross-border what's happening. So you're not just, you know, knowing what's happening in your LGA and then you're doing all you can to try and fix a dumping incident, but it still keeps happening, and it's because right across the border, you know, dumping's just happening and yeah, nothing's being done there. So hopefully now this is really going to help collaboration, more strategic approaches to dealing with illegal dumping, because you'll really be able to see what's happening and what you really need to target to fix your problem. And lastly, one of the other features that we've built into RID Online is that you can now map infrastructure. So if you install some fences or a gate, you can put that on RID Online and you can actually look at that against illegal dumping incidents. So say over time, you can look at whether, you know, you're still seeing dumping incidents where you've installed infrastructure to see if it is actually having an effect. So yeah, another really good feature that will really help down the line with like seeing, yeah, how successful your programs are going. And that's essentially RID Online. So what I've just put here is just how you can actually access RID Online. So for the public interface, it is just a web portal. So you just need the ridonline.epa.newsouthwales.gov.au. If you just go to that, it'll then, you can also save that to your home screen on your phone. And then it looks exactly like an app once you do that. Otherwise, the other way to access that is you can go to it via the Report to EPA app. So if you've got that, you'll see when you go onto that down the bottom, I think it says, yeah, click on Dump Rubbish, and then that will take you straight to RID Online as well. For RID Online Private, yep, once you speak to us about getting a login, then yep, it's just straight to a web portal as well. And then that's essentially it. It's pretty easy. So if you've got any questions about RID Online, or you do want to get access to the database, please just send us an email to that email address down the bottom, and yeah, we'll help you out. So yeah, that's it. Does anyone have any questions?